Family Clan fam! Thanks for joining us. If you're new here, welcome. Last time I was telling you guys about how Shaun and I were fostering teenagers and how he got the feeling that we were supposed to do a large sibling group. If you haven't checked out our other videos, you may want to go back and do that. We have one on fostering teenagers and another one on our first foster care to adoption story. Stay tuned. In August of 2016, Shaun and I let our foster care consultant know that we were interested in finding a large sibling group to keep together, but we were interested in not just doing foster care, but actually adopting a large sibling group that needed a forever home. A lot of times, the kids will get separated even after adoption, and we really were interested in keeping a group of children together forever that would not normally get to stay together. So our foster care consultant took that and went looking for us. We did come across a group of 3 kids that we were going to start pre-placement visits with. And a pre-placement visit, if you don't know, is a visit or 2 or 3 that you do with the kids. That way you guys can kind of get to know one another, and then you can see if they interact well with your other children, how your personalities fit together, and you can then make a determination on if that is the group that you actually are interested in moving forward with, and vice versa if the kids feel like you are also a good fit for them. So we were just getting ready to start those visits, and we got a phone call from our foster care consultant and the placement person in our agency telling us about a sibling group of 5 that needed a home, and they were an emergency call. So an emergency call is they needed a home right away. We were asked if we would take them. Of course, Shaun and I asked all kinds of questions about behaviors and medicine, where they went to school, and if rights had been terminated yet. So in this instance, rights had not been terminated, but we were told that because it was the 3rd removal for the children, that they were going to go to an immediate TPR. And that means that instead of waiting the normal 15 to 22 months, they were going to do an immediate termination of parental rights, which means it would have taken only a few months to get that done. So Shaun and I talked about it, and we decided, yes, that we would go ahead and take the group of 5. At this point, they ended up not having anyone that could bring them to us. So Shaun and I said that we would go ahead and pick the kids up. Here in our area, we have a building where the kids can go and hang out. That way they can have toys and things to play with while they're waiting for either a placement to be found or waiting for someone to take them or pick them up. So we went ahead and went there and we picked the kids up. And you know, in one of my other videos, I told you about how exciting and yet anxious I get when we're meeting new kids, and I felt the same way in this instance. I was very excited to meet what could possibly be our forever kids, but yet anxious at the same time because you don't know how they're going to act with you, and you really know nothing about them and they know nothing about you. And so it is a brand new connection that you're going to try to make. So we went there to pick them up, and I will never forget the oldest girl. At the time, she was 8, and she said to us, "This is my name," and she pronounced it, and she said, "We pronounce it the Mexican way," and we thought that that was so funny. And the second thing she said to us was, "My brother did not get a birthday, and his birthday had been 2 months prior to this. Are you going to throw him a birthday party?" And she was so concerned about her brother and getting a birthday party that it just melted our hearts that she was so caring about her siblings. The other thing I remember is that her brother, who happened to be the only boy out of the group, he did have some behaviors right away, and I think he was just pushing boundaries at that point. And really, honestly, if you're thinking about doing foster care, it is expected that these kids have behaviors in the beginning while they're trying to adjust, and everything is changing for them. And just make sure that you keep that in mind, because it is an adjustment not only for you as the parents, but for the kids as well. When we got to our house, we finished paperwork and we met with the caseworker, and we really got to know just a little tiny bit of background, and the kids did not come with much. So we got what little information we could, and then we showed them around the house and we took them outside to play. Keep in mind, now I have 9 kids and 2 adults in the house. That took some getting used to. I would say probably about 3 to 6 months, and it became finally my new normal. Going from having a family of, first it was just 3 of us, and then after that it was 5 of us, and then after that now there's 11 of us, and so that definitely was an adjustment for me. I had to learn how to cook differently, how much hamburger it took to make meals, or chicken I had to use, or all those components, to how to do laundry, how many loads I had to do a day, dishes, getting that done. And so it really was just time that it took to get used to all the new ways I had to do things. The other thing that happened was we were originally told that they were going to do an immediate termination of parental rights for our group of kids, but in fact that is not what happened, and instead they decided that they were going to try to reunify with their birth mom. And so what happens is, instead of terminating her rights, they were going to do a plan to try to work to get them back into her home. So then at this point we had a decision to make, because originally Shaun and I were looking for a group of kids that we could adopt and give a permanent home to, and that is not what was happening. And so we talked about it, and after talking about it we just decided that the kids still needed a good home to stay. In March of 2017 we found out that the kid's mom was pregnant and she was going to have a baby in October. So we were asked at the time if we would be interested in taking the baby if the baby were to be removed, and we said yes. In July of 2017, the kid's mom decided that she was going to move, and she did stay in state, but she did move 4 hours away from the kids to a different city. In October of 2017, the baby was born, and she was in fact placed with us. So Shaun and I went to the hospital and picked her up, and the kids were so excited to meet their new baby sister. Now this was October of 2017, and because this was in a separate county, it was a completely different case. And in February of 2018, she was reunited with their birth mom. That was a little difficult for us to deal with, just in the fact that we were happy that she got to be with her birth mom, but the other kids did not really understand how come she could be with their mom, but they could not be with their mom. And so we had to just try to explain that because it was a separate case in a different county, that just unfortunately made it different, and they still had to work their plan to get back with their mom. Their mom had certain things that she needed to do to get them back. Fast forward to May of 2019, and the kids have been in the system now for about 2.5 years. And I really felt like the system could have done a better job at helping these kids. So adjudication in our case took 17 months. In the state of Nebraska, it is supposed to take only 6. And in this case, because things just kept getting delayed, attorneys getting fired, and things just kept happening, unfortunately it just drug out. And at 17 months, when kids are normally being reunited or having overnight visits with their parents, our kids were just being adjudicated on. And adjudication means that the courts have said that the kids should actually be in foster care. So it took 17 months to get to that point. The other thing that I felt like we could have really done a better job on was the state filed termination of parental rights 3 times in our case and pulled them all 3 times. Now, I feel like they either needed to decide to terminate or they needed to decide to reunify. But what would happen is the state would file the termination, the parents would work hard, and then that termination would get pulled, and then there would be maybe some relaxing. Shaun and I really like to advocate hard for our kids' best interests. We also have a GAL who helps us do that, but Shaun and I feel like as a foster parent, that really is part of our job, is to make sure that the kids' interests are being heard, and we, kind of go off of their behaviors and what they say to us and how they react to situations and the feelings that they tell us they're having. And so we advocate using that information for the kids. My personal opinion is that the state really needs to start having higher expectations of parents, because when these kids go home, we really need to know that the parents are not going to fail again, and we need to see that the parents can actually do the hard things now before we put the kids back in the home and realize at that point that they can't, and then there is extra trauma added because the kids are removed again. And so we really felt like in our case that needed to happen. That way we could just ensure that when the kids went home that they would not come back. In July of 2019, now the kids have been in care in our home for almost 3 years, and we felt at this point that we were just riding this roller coaster, and not necessarily us, but the kids were on this roller coaster that kept going up and down and up and down, and they just weren't able to get off of that, and they just had to kind of ride that out, unfortunately, because of the way the case was going. So Shaun and I sat down together and we talked about everything, and we decided that we really needed to help these kids get off that roller coaster. And keep in mind, think back now, Shaun and I had originally wanted to have a sibling group we could adopt, and we had decided that we were going to just ride the case out so the kids had a safe place to live while they were being reunified with their parents. At this point, we did not think that it was going to go this long, but we definitely felt like being with us for almost 3 years, that was way too long for the kids, especially at their young ages, to be in the system. When the kids were removed, they were only 8, 7, 5, 4, and 2. And that's a long time for those littles to be out of their birth home. So what we did is we decided that we were going to talk to the case professionals, find out what the case professionals thought. So we got together with our CASA and our therapist, the children's therapist, and our GAL, and we made a plan to try to ensure that the kids would go back home to their birth mom and not to another foster home. So in August 3rd of 2019, the kids were in fact reunited with their birth mom. Shaun and I, for several years now at this point, had really wanted to move out of state. We love Nebraska and we love our family, but we really hate the weather. And so we really wanted to move somewhere warmer, and we went ahead and we gave our 30-day notice and we started packing the kids up. We had every intention of sending everything home with them, which we did. We sent even down to their toothbrushes, all their clothes, their bikes, all their toys. And so I packed all of their stuff up, and at the same time I started packing up my stuff and Shaun's stuff and our 3 adopted kids' items. And we were going to take a trip in our fifth wheel, and our older kids were not going to go. They decided that they would rather stay. 2 of them at the time were living in Kansas and 1 in Nebraska, and they just wanted to stay where they were at, and they did not want to move with us. So we took the 3 little kids and we were packing everyone's stuff up, and we decided that we were going to get rid of everything and that we were only going to take what we could fit in our fifth wheel. So we sold or donated most of our items, I would say 90% of our items. We packed up what we could fit in our fifth wheel, and at the end of August of 2019, Shaun, I, and the three little kids went ahead and took a journey staying in RV parks or boondocking, first in Arizona, then in Texas, and we fell in love with Corpus Christi. While we were at the RV park, we did get some information on the case. We still were staying in contact with the case professionals, and we found out that when they left our home, the kids did some transition time where they were with their mom for several days a week and then with someone else for several days a week, and they did that for about 5 weeks, and then they ended up closing the case at the middle of September of 2019. So case closed. And even though the case was closed, we still thought about the kids every single day. But if you want to find out how we continued in foster care or about our journey in our RV, make sure you come back next time for more. If you liked the video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. If you make sure you want to catch all of the videos, then subscribe to our channel. And if you don't want to miss any videos that we put out, then make sure to hit that notification bell. See you next time, guys. Bye!